Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the DFO Fantasy Show for Wednesday, October 8th. I hope everybody as hot of a start as mine did if you use the Daily Faceoff draft kit. I'm sure you've got somebody like Martin Necas on your roster. He was one of our must-draft players. So hopefully you got off to a hot start. If not, it's going to be a long season. We're here to guide you through it throughout the entirety of the season. Tonight, or today, I should say, is a good start because it's Waiver Wire Wednesday. So if you didn't get off to a hot start, if you've got some injuries, we're here to help. Make sure you're picking up the right guys off the waiver wire. So I'll be joined by our regular co-host, Beebs Bondy, for Waiver Wire Wednesday. We're going to go through some of our top pickups in standard formats, in deeper formats, and banger formats. So regardless of what kind of league you play in, hopefully we've got somebody that's available on your waiver wire to pick up and make your team a little bit better. I'm running on a generator today, so hopefully you can't hear it. Our producer, Andy, does a great job, so I'm sure it's quiet as can be. But yeah, scheduled power outage by the Hydro Company today, making things a little bit more difficult. So today's DFO Fantasy Show is presented to you by Champion Generator. So hopefully that goes well. Before we get to Beebs and Waiver Wire Wednesday, we're going to start with some news and notes. Breaking news as the show was just getting underway. Kyle Connor and the Winnipeg Jets have agreed to an 8-year, $12.0 million AAV contract, $96 million total. As a Red Wings fan, I was personally hoping that maybe there'd be a bit of a homecoming here with Kyle Connor in the offseason, but another big name off the list for this summer. So Kyle Connor, 8 years, $12 million. Not really a whole lot of news for this, outside of this signing for Wednesday. The only other piece of information that we've got ahead of tonight's games is Pavel Dorofeyev of the Vegas Golden Knights will be a game time decision tonight. But interestingly enough, we talked about in the preseason, we weren't 100% sure how the Vegas power play was going to shake out with the signing of with the signing of Mitch Marner, with Dorofeyev already being there. I had mentioned that perhaps there's an opportunity for Mitch Marner to step in as a fifth forward on that power play, and Shea Theodore moves to power play too. We didn't get a look at it all preseason because Dorofeyev was injured or somebody else was injured. They had a full practice yesterday, and they are going to go with the 5-forward look to start things off. So Dorofeyev, who I had a little bit of concerns might lose power play time to Mitch Marner, is in fact going to be on power play 1 and a 5-forward look. As good as that is for Dorofeyev, not great news for Shea Theodore, who we were very high on. He'll start the season on PP2 next to Noah Hannafin. So not great for Theodore, great for Dorofeyev. We'll see how things shake out over the course of the season. Obviously, just getting underway here. But let's not waste any more time. Let's get to Waiver Wire Wednesday. I'm now joined by our regular co-host of the DFO Fantasy Show, Beebs Bondy. Beebs, the show is going to have a new look this year, and here is the first installment with just you, no D. D will be here tomorrow as we preview the weekend, but today is Waiver Wire Wednesday with Beebs and Brock. We are going to give you 3 names each that we like in standard formats, and then we're going to give you 1 name each that we like in banger leagues and 1 name each that we like in deeper leagues. So Beebs, how's it going? Welcome to the first Waiver Wire Wednesday of the season.
We're doing good. We had to pry the sleep from our eyes today. Colorado had a late start last night, a 10:50 puck drop Eastern Standard Time. So that one closed out about 1:30. I recall my girlfriend rolling over and going, "Don't you have to record in the morning?" And me looking at her and going, "It's Abs opening night. Like just shh, go right to bed." But got to see a dub, so that was fantastic. And here we are. We had some friends of the show, some favorites we had in the early season, kind of do their thing yesterday. So we'd love to see it, as you mentioned, the boy Natchez. That was a fantastic start. Had a couple other names that I'm going to mention later, but as you know, Brock, I'm a better person when fantasy hockey is going on. So it's fantastic to be on day 2 here. I'm very excited to get this season going.
Yeah, in my league of record, I'm actually going up against Dylan in the very first week of the season. I have Necas on that team, I have Verhaeghe on that team, I have Fiala on that team, and I have Bobrovsky on that team. So we got off to a really nice start against D. Hopefully he can take the W week 1. But let's get into our standard league pickups. These guys are all 30% owned or lower. I will start here with Nick Schmaltz, and it is just that time of year again. It is kind of a yearly tradition here at the DFO Fantasy Show when we start talking about adding Nick Schmaltz every single week. In my 12-team league of record, which I just mentioned, he's already been dropped, and he's been among the top 30 most dropped players on Yahoo over the last 2 days. So he's just hitting the wire like crazy right now, currently sitting at 30% owned. By now, we know what Nick Schmaltz brings to the table. Over the last 4 seasons, he's averaged 69 points, 25 goals, 44 assists per 82 games with decent shot volume and pretty steady power play production. So he's fine. He's great. He's a good streaming candidate. He's not somebody that's going to be like, push your team over the edge, but he's a really consistent producer for your roster. But this ad actually has a little bit more to do with the schedule than it does his upside. With limited streaming options this weekend, like no games on Friday, pretty much everybody playing on Saturday, not going to be able to stream anybody there, and one game on Sunday. You might as well just start taking a look forward to next week and preparing. Hopefully you get to win week 1 and put yourself in a better position for week 2. Utah plays 4 times next week, and they have the easiest strength of schedule in the league, facing Chicago, Calgary, San Jose, and Boston. A really juicy schedule for Utah. You're going to see a little bit more Utah from me here in a little bit as well. But for now, it is Nick Schmaltz. Beebs, who is your first waiver wire pickup?
We actually have more news here. Matthias Ekholm has just signed in Edmonton too. So it seems that it's a 3-year contract. It seems that, the NHL is going to, they're like, hey, we're going to wait for the first free agent show, and then we are going to just drop all our signings. So that's fantastic. Brock, I actually had a backup list of players I was going to do for pickups day, and Nick Schmaltz was right on there, friend of the show. And he kind of was like Dorofeyev, where they came out of not really nowhere, but he's just supposed to be on PP1 now. So it kind of blows my mind that he is dropping down the free agent, or that we're watching him get dropped in free agency. But for me, right here, this one is Josh Norris out in Buffalo. I talked about him early on. I actually had him as a potential sleeper in my sleeper article this year, and that is because he's fallen exactly into the place we hoped for. Currently lining up on PP1 in line 1 with Tage Thompson and Zach Benson. It's going to depend on on Benson's health, but either way, you want him attached to Tage. Last year, after getting traded at the trade deadline, Norris had 2 points in 3 games before his injury. The one thing where Norris has his most value is when he's healthy, and Norris is healthy at the moment. So that's why we're going to suggest him on the show. As I mentioned, in a fantastic spot to succeed this year. We've mentioned it in previous shows. Norris is kind of an elite goal scorer. He just really hasn't had the opportunity to flourish like we've hoped. He had 35 goals in 66 games in 2021-22. He was on pace for 31 last year after getting injured, which we saw in Buffalo, but still had 21 goals in 56 games. So with Norris sitting here on this top line and 35 plus goal potential in his arsenal, basically, I think he makes a fantastic pickup at only 27% owned in Yahoo leagues. If you are in need of a strict center, you might not be, but if you do need some goals, I've had a lot of rosters sent to me where I'm like, you sure do love apples. You're going to get a lot of those, but you might need someone who can fill out your goal set or categories. And it's going to be hard to find off the wire. Norris may be your guy. As I mentioned, with him being healthy, we might as well use it while we can. If he gets hurt, let him go, put him on your IR, no big deal. But for now, I at least want to see where this can go. We've never really seen him able to spread his wings in Ottawa. So here we are. Let's have him average over 18 minutes a night, and let's have a breakout and a nice year for Josh Norris.
Yeah, you can see by the projections, projected for just 66 games played. So definitely a conservative projection by me this year. But if you extrapolate those numbers across 82 games, if he can stay healthy, projected for 29 goals and 52 points. So pretty decent season. I think that there's room for even further growth, obviously playing on a line with Tage Thompson. But speaking of first line wingers, you've got another one in the bag here.
Yeah, and this one I was kind of hoping he'd have a bit of a better showing last night when I started popping off about, oh yeah, all the faves of the show went off. This was the one who didn't. I loved Kuzmenko coming in. He had a fantastic showing last year after he was traded for the second time in the season. Kuzmenko is currently 26% owned in Yahoo leagues. He's playing PP1 and line 1. And Kuzmenko probably won't fly up after last night's performance. He had only 1446 time on ice, which may seem a little bit glaring, but what kind of was a bonus of all this is if you did the eye test on Kuzmenko, he is the guy attached to that top wing, and he is basically the number 2 shooting option on that power play. With that, I'm expecting a lot more success this season. It seems that him, Kopitar, and Kempe line is going to mesh really well. They just ran into a juggernaut that I'd like to call the Colorado Avalanche, who looked incredible last night. Kuzmenko is only a couple years removed from a 39-goal, 74-point campaign, so it's not like, the guy doesn't have him in it. He was a Russian superstar before coming here. He's proven that he can succeed even if shooting at a low shooting percentage. He's never finished below 10% in his career, and he's twice finished above 24% in his career. Last night may have not boded well for him on the stat sheet, but if you are in banger leagues, he filled the stat sheet for you. 1 shot on goal for Kuzmenko, but 4 hits, 2 blocks. And when you're only averaging 1446, he was an angry man last night, and it'd be great to see him get up to closer to 16, 17 minutes. Regardless, those are very protected minutes that he's getting. You're not grabbing Kuzmenko for his defensive play, nor should you. We're talking fantasy. And he was in all the right spots to succeed. Last year's 17 and 22-point pace would be good for 64 across 82 games, and I honestly think he can do more than that. He's going to be incredibly sneaky, and if he stays in this spot, and while he's there, you might as well take a flyer at him. He's left-wing, right-wing eligibility. He's going to be able to fit in your lineup, and I think there's a lot worse players being rostered right now than and in worse lineup spots than Andrei Kuzmenko.
Yeah, I think the only concern with Kuzmenko is just the Kings' opening schedule here. It could be a bit of a tough start. You mentioned running into the Avs last night, but the Golden Knights today, the Jets on Saturday, and the Wild on Monday. So just 3 or 4 really good defensive teams in a row. But yeah, Kuzmenko in a nice spot in the lineup for sure, and had just tremendous success. And that line had really, really good underlying metrics last year. I'm going to go next with another top line winger, and I've got Jimmy Snuggerud of the St. Louis Blues. So if you watch yesterday's show with Stephen Ellis, he mentioned Snuggerud as one of his favorites for the Calder. Snuggerud is coming off an outstanding junior season at the University of Minnesota, where he ranked 6th in the nation in points, 7th in both goals, in shots on goal, with 24 goals and 161 shots. After turning pro and going to the Blues, he appeared in 14 combined regular season and playoff games, tallying 3 goals and 5 assists. That is a pace that is equivalent to 18 goals and 29 assists over 82 games. So obviously not outrageously good numbers, but that's a strong foundation for the rookie to build on this year. And he's stepping into, just a phenomenal situation to start his NHL career. Snuggerud will open the season on the Blues top line with Robert Thomas and Pavel Buchnevich. He's also on power play 1. So I think pairing Snuggerud's shot with Robert Thomas's elite playmaking ability should yield immediate fantasy results this year. It's a spot in the lineup that I'm really excited to see if he can flourish there. And if you need a bit more convincing, as we mentioned yesterday, a Calder Trophy favorite, he's currently got the second best Calder Trophy odds at plus 1,000 behind only Ivan Demidov of the Montreal Canadiens. So Snuggerud, just a phenomenal shot, a guy that I think could score a lot of goals this year for St. Louis. And in my league of record, I was pretty surprised to see that he went undrafted. I actually scooped him up this morning. So I was quite happy to find that as I was doing prep for this show.
Yeah, full disclosure too. I would say Brock and I sometimes fight over people on the show. It gets physical. We swing all that, and he beat me up. He got Jimmy Snuggerud on this one, so we both incredibly support this player, just to show how much the DFO fantasy show is behind Big Jimmy, because this is a fantastic pickup. I think I have 5 of 7 stocks in him, and I am so freaking happy.
And if you don't have stocks in him, he's still only 21% rostered. But Beebs, coming up next is a player that you talked about a lot preseason. I mentioned maybe some reservations just because I wasn't sure what life would look like not on a line with Connor Bedard, but he got off to a red hot start yesterday.
Yeah, if you follow me on Twitter, you probably muted me after Frank Nazar went off and had 2 points on Chicago's first 2 goals. I was incredibly excited. Currently pitching a 17% own percentage, and that's after last night's boost. That's an up-to-date own percentage there. Frank Nazar had a goal and an assist, which, that's awesome in itself. It looks fantastic. But where I'm really popping off is Frankie Boy was out there for 20 minutes and 14 seconds in Chicago's opener. As Brock mentioned, what's it going to look like on 5v5 when he's not around the golden boy, Connor Bedard? And it really doesn't matter, because if you want to pump him out there for 20 plus minutes and also put him on that top power play, Frank is going to deliver. I was really pumped about him coming in. He only had 26 points as a rookie, but 9 of those came in his final 8 games, and it seemed like those 9 came when they finally let him just be himself and kind of let go. And that's what happened. Another key piece that I really liked last night, Brock, your boy Sam Renzel, he looked fantastic back there on the point on the power play. It was another question mark. You need to kind of have we saw it in Anaheim, you kind of need to have a guy who can run that power play and keep it going. And it doesn't matter if the superstars around, you need five key pieces there. And it looks like we have that in Chicago. I'm very excited about Frank Nazar, and yeah, it's very rare you're going to see a player in his sophomore season mucking up 2014 time on ice, but that is awesome. And just the lack of talent around him might mean he might just go crazy with ice time, and we love it. I'm going to lean on Frank Nazar this year. He's probably my favorite of the 3 names here, I will admit. I really, really, really was impressed with him in that opener.
Yeah, just back to Rinzel for a second. 25-18 still available in a lot of leagues. Really like Rinzel. He had just one shot on goal, but he had 6 shot attempts. Talked about his shot volume coming into the season. 6 shot attempts at 25 minutes a night. Offers some banger league value, right? 4 blocks, 1 hit last night as well. Rinzel's great. And I think we'd be remiss if we didn't talk about Spencer Knight's performance. I mentioned Spencer Knight as somebody that I actually didn't mind drafting as a number 3 goalie. Yes, you're going to probably have to be a little bit choosy with the matchups, but I think that this Blackhawks team might not win a lot of games this year, but they're going to be competitive. And if they're competitive, Spencer Knight looks like a guy that is going to keep him in a lot of games this year. He was phenomenal last year.
Yeah,
His former team just absolutely peppered him, and he had a really good night. So yeah, I'm not saying sprint to the wire and pick up Spencer Knight, but I think that you can at least feel a little bit more comfortable spot starting him this year. The final standard league pickup for us here today is Matt Coronato of the Calgary Flames, just right wing eligible at 19% rostered. Pretty shocked about this roster percentage, to be honest with you. He's a guy that I really liked in the preseason. You really liked in the preseason. I thought the fantasy community by and large was a fan of his, and the own percentage does not reflect that at all. Like Schmaltz, though, like I said, he's a player that I'm high on, but this recommendation is also schedule driven. Over the next 2 weeks, the Flames have a league high 6 light night games, making it super easy to fit Coronato into your lineup. And obviously, if he delivers as we expect he should, he could quickly develop into a long-term hold. Coronato finished the 24-25 season very strong. He posted 8 goals, 7 assists, 5 power play points, 47 shots on goal. We're averaging over 19 minutes a night in his final 18 games. That translates to an 82-game pace of 36 goals, 32 assists for 68 points, but also 23 power play points and 214 shots on goal. So really nice category coverage across the board there for Coronato. He'll open the season on a line with Morgan Frost and on power play 1, giving him an immediate opportunity. Some people might look at him playing with Frost as opposed to Kadri as a negative, but last year, Coronato and Frost generated excellent underlying metrics together. 2.6 expected goals for per 60 is solid, but the 32 scoring chances for and the 10.3 high danger chances for per 60 are really, really good metrics. He also had a really low secondary assist total and a very modest IPP in the 50s last year. So all of those are pointing to him to being a legitimate breakout candidate this year. And at 19% rostered, Coronato is a player that I am basically rushing to the wire to get to.
Brock, I actually had to look at some other similar 20% guys just because this absolutely floored me here. And would you rather have Anders Lee, Chris Kreider, Mason Marchment, or Matt Coronato? Those are some of the names you're working with. I get league dependent. Their leagues are different. I don't care how many points a hit counts for. You're going to want Matt Coronato 10 times out of 10 out of that sum. And all 3 of those other guys are more owned in leagues than Matt Coronato. So just goes to show, I think that 19% is going to be the lowest. We'll see him all year.
Yeah, I would agree there. And speaking of banger leagues, let's get to our banger league pickups. And I will go first here with Jack McBain of the Utah Mammoth. He's center left wing eligible, currently 6% rostered. McBain is a bit of an intriguing player. He produced really solid offensive numbers at Boston College, but he's settled into more of a checking line role at the NHL level to date. That is something that could change this year. To start the season, McBain has been skating on a line with Clayton Keller and Nick Schmaltz, as well as power play 2, while Barrett Hayton has been listed as their third line center in Tuesday's practice. So if McBain skates a full season, or at least the early portion of the season with Keller and Schmaltz, that should create new offensive opportunities. And this is a trio that actually spent some time together in 2024 and had really, really good metrics. 3.0 expected goals for per 60, 31 scoring chances for per 60, 15.5 high danger chances for per 60. So even a modest bump in offense to his already 300 hit upside makes McBain a very valuable banger league asset this season. I don't know how long the top line things or second line thing is going to work for or roll for, but right now he's a great pickup. And I already mentioned with Nick Schmaltz, the Utah Mammoth have a great schedule coming up next weekend, makes him an intriguing candidate to start the season.
Yeah, very similar bot I'm about to suggest here. And one that I remember last year when people always message me, go, who should I drop, yada, yada, or message us. And I would consistently say Eeli Tolvanen. But I didn't realize is if they were in a banger league, that was a very bad suggestion. Eeli Tolvanen is currently 8% rostered. He's on L2 and power play 2 out in Seattle, which is a perfectly fine position to be in. But where he absolutely dominates and where he gains his fantasy value is he finished last season 13th in the NHL in hits with 237. I mentioned it when we talked about how much value Brady Tkachuk brings to a roster, that say you don't get him in a banger league, you can fall back with a guy like Tolvanen, and obviously you're not going to get the elite offensive stats that Tkachuk would bring, but you're still going to get those banger numbers, which is something that we talk about as very hard to get from a serviceable fantasy player. There's only 30 players in the whole NHL last year who finished above 200 hits. Tolvanen was one, and only 8 players who finished above Tolvanen's 35 plus points of those 30 200 plus hitters. Out of that total, his 23 goals were only surpassed by 3 players: Brady Tkachuk, who's 100% owned, Tom Wilson, 89% owned, and Vincent Trocheck, who's currently 76% owned. So when we're looking at Eeli Tolvanen at 8% owned, he's in a completely different category in the league by himself. He provides goals while also being available. He's averaging 38 points in his last 2 seasons, 145 shots. Get this, 225 hits. Last year wasn't a fluke. This guy loves throwing the rig around. He did it even when he was in Nashville. I thought it was a Seattle thing. Like, I thought they converted him pretty much the same thing as McVane. And then I looked at it, and he had 176 hits 1 year in Nashville, back when the gun wasn't too hot. So give him a hot gun. That's 200 plus hits again. And we're talking about Tolvanen being one of the elite hitters in the league. With numbers like that, you can definitely afford to have him at the bottom of your roster in a banger league. And he also provides some blocks too, if your league does that as well. 70 blocks last year, so good for about 1 a game. I really like Tolvanen as kind of like a banger sleeper, I guess we'll word it as. And I think he's a great way to fill out your roster if you're like me in banger leagues and really just decide to punt the hit category.
Yeah, I like Tolvanen. Still got a really good shot. Scored well below his expected goal rate last year. Over 3 goals below his expected goal rate. So I do think that he is somebody that could definitely improve again this season. But let's get to our deep league pickups, guys that are barely rostered. Beebs, why don't you take it away?
Yeah, can't believe I'm mentioning this guy not in an Avalanche jersey, but it's Jonathan Drouin in Long Island, currently 6% owned. And when we're looking at the deep leagues, I'm looking for a couple key factors because many of these guys don't have it. I need some power play time. I need some top 6 minutes. And Jonathan Drouin is providing both of those to start the year in what may be a lowly New York team, but that's okay. Even that, I'm completely fine with suggesting him here. Drouin last year had 37 points in 43 games, a lot like a couple of our other suggestions, Norris, and that. Health was a big concern for Drouin, but at the moment he's healthy, so we are going to bring his name up. His 37 and 43 last year would have been good for 71 points in 82 games. That would have been 21 goal pace. Yes, he's not in Colorado. I don't expect a 71 and 82 point pace, but if we're talking about deep leagues, if he can give us 55 points across 82 games while being on the top line, on a top power play, I think you're going to be pretty satisfied considering you got him off the wire in, again, a deep league. One thing where I'm really loving Drouin this year, he should just get peppered with ice time. He's locked to the hip of Bo Horvat, and Bo Horvat's averaged 20 plus minutes time on ice in his last 8 seasons. So if you're going to tell Bo to get off the ice, and Jonathan Drouin's on the ice with him, it's just not going to happen. And he's going to stay out there and eat. We know how good Bo Horvat is on both sides of the puck. He's a fantastic two-way forward. That should help Drouin just drive the offense a little bit more. As I mentioned, it's New York. We don't expect a flurry of offense, but it does have to come from somewhere. We do always say that. I wish Drouin would shoot the puck more. He's really not going to help you in that category. That's been our constant kind of repetition or repetitive thing we've said about him. He only had 56 shots on goal last season in 43 games. So with the general just, I guess, lean on by New York this year, I'm hoping he can up those shots a bit more. He had 127 the year before. If we could maybe see a 150 shot point, 55, 60 points here from Drouin, I think you're getting a lot of value. Again, we're talking deep leagues, so you're kind of scraping the barrel. But as far as a player in a position to succeed, as crappy as the roster may be, I think Drouin could be in for a decent little start here. If maybe say New York has a little spark due to all this young talent around, it could be something. So deepest of leagues, I like him. I also just want to do a quick shout out. If you are looking for a deep league D-man, Jamie Drysdale was announced on Power Play 1 in Philadelphia this week. Might be worth a look just for the time being. We haven't really seen him break out yet, but he's still only 23 years old. He was a top 20 NHL pick. And he's someone that Philly brought in to kind of, I think, long-term help their power play. So keep an eye on him if he stays healthy as well. I like those two names there.
The final name for today's episode, actually, I've got two bonus names too, but let's start with Joel Farabee, who I didn't think I would ever talk about on a fantasy show ever again, but unlike Coronato, Farabee's recommendation is primarily schedule-based. His ceiling isn't especially high, but he is being given a big opportunity to start the season. He's going to open the year on the top line with Nazem Kadri. He's also going to be on power play 1 right now with Jonathan Huberdeau out. So whether he can turn that into consistent production kind of remains to be seen. But after a really strong preseason and a very favorable 2-week schedule, I think that he's an appealing short-term stream in deeper leagues. For the next couple weeks, you might be able to get point per game potential out of or upside out of Farabee. Again, I'm not 100% sold that's going to end up being the case, but he's going to be playing big minutes with Kadri. He's going to be on the top power play unit for a few weeks. So with the schedule, I think that he makes a little bit of sense. I think like he's unlikely to turn into a long-term hold, but players that could turn into long-term holds for my Detroit Red Wings, Michael Nygaard, I think is a guy who's going to open the season on the third line, but is definitely a player that if he sticks with the Red Wings can move up that lineup. The Red Wings are going to go with Emmett Finney on the top line with Larkin and Raymond to start the season. Long-term, I think Nygaard projects to play there. Whether or not that happens this year, remains to be seen. But I think it's worth a flyer in deep leagues because he's just got a tremendous shot. He's going to be a weapon on the power play for them all season. And if he moves up the lineup into that top 6, it's a top 6 that's going to score a lot of goals this year. And he's going to be somebody that's going to definitely factor in playing with Larkin and Raymond. And then Axel Sandin Pellikka as well. Very, very good young defenseman. Talked about it a little bit with Stephen Ellis yesterday. Steven said that he, thinks that Sandy Pellikka is likely to go back to the AHL at some point. We'll see if that ends up happening. But for the time being, even if he gets 9 games, you get a couple weeks out of him. He's going to be on power play 2. He's probably going to be playing close to 20 minutes tonight next to Simon Edvinsson. So both those Red Wings rookies, I think, are very high upside. And if they end up staying in the NHL long term, I think both have really, really nice value there in deep leagues. That is going to do it for this generator-powered edition of the DFO Fantasy Show. Beebs, you got any final remarks before we close things out?
No, I did. I was hoping. I say no, and then I pop off. I was hoping that we'd have some preseason indicators. Some more guys kind of go crazy, but it was only your hyphen Warriors out in Detroit. But good to see 3 rookies in Detroit make the roster. It seems like the youth movement's really coming. We got to see 2 come in Pittsburgh yesterday. You guys know how much I love that for keeper league. So it's going to be a very exciting year here with pickups, and I am so happy that Brock and I are able to bring it to you guys every Wednesday. Let's have a fantastic year.
Yeah, let's have a fantastic year, and the Red Wings certainly lead the NHL in letters per 60 on the back of their jerseys because, boy, oh boy, there is a lot of them there. You got Branson, Nygaard, and Axel Sandin Pellikka, and Jacob Bernard Docker. I mean, it's just unbelievable. But that is going to do it for Waiver Wire Wednesday. Make sure if you are listening to us or watching us on YouTube, smash that like button, hit the subscribe button so you never miss an episode. We're going to be coming at you Monday through Thursday, and then every other Friday with Stephen Ellis. So tomorrow, tune in. It's going to be myself and Dylan Berthium, our other regular DFO Fantasy Show co-host, breaking down the weekend. It's going to be a bit of a tricky weekend for weekend streamers. Like I mentioned, no games Friday, only 1 game Sunday. So we're going to take a brief look at weekend streamers and then probably take a quick look ahead at next week. Get those pickups in line for next week and guys that will be good, for a couple weeks here moving forward, not just this weekend since there aren't a lot of options. So thank you guys so much for tuning in. Smash that like button on YouTube, and we'll see you guys back here tomorrow. Thanks for watching this video. If you want more great fantasy hockey and betting content from myself, Carter Hutton, Matthew Barnaby, and the rest of the DFO analysts, make sure you subscribe to the DFO Fantasy and Betting YouTube channel today and never miss a minute.